Hey, welcome back to another great show here on the BroBryceHealth channel. My name is Bryce L. Tomlinson, and today is time for Saturday Keto Chat. We're going to do check-ins, we're going to do weigh-ins, and we're going to talk about macros today. And just so you guys have a heads up, tomorrow I will be doing a final video on the bacon experiment, my 30-day journey using Dan Quibel, his bacon experiment guide to telling you how to do the bacon experiment. As you guys know, I have been faithfully eating just pork once a day, every day for the last 30 days. So I started out doing bacon, and then I switched to pork belly because it didn't disagree with me quite as much, my belly. And then I went alternating between pork belly and bacon and pork chops and pork loin, and basically tweaking it to how I felt and what I felt I needed. So I'll talk more about that later, and I'll talk even more about it tomorrow. I'm not going to get too much in depth because I think I've kind of flooded you guys with bacon experiment stuff. And I'm kind of obsessed with the bacon experiment because it really works. And I think it's a great way for people to kickstart their journey into ketogenic nutrition. Sorry for the technical difficulties and the fact that I got started maybe a minute late today. We're kind of in a transition period right now. I just set up XSplit Broadcaster, but I wasn't able to get everything working all in time, and I just switched back to OBS at the last second. We do have Nightbot enabled to moderate the channel, and so you'll be seeing occasional little doodads from Nightbot talking about people spamming. Last week we didn't have Nightbot and had to edit the video. So may still edit the video today too because the music didn't kick on, and XSplit I think will fix that. OBS is having trouble capturing my audio from my sound card. And so technical difficulties aside, we are here on the Saturday Keto Chat. You're welcome to use the chat box over here to talk and ask questions. This is your chance to check in, your chance to be accountable for your weight loss goals and everything else that you're looking to accomplish with your physical health and your fitness. And I just want to encourage all of you guys, you are rock stars if you are making these changes in your life. And so this live chat, like all the other videos that I post, they're about my journey. They're about my take on this journey. And the comment section is all for you guys. So I want to respond to your needs, and especially these Saturday Keto Chats. This is about questions and answers. This is about check-ins. You can ask me anything regarding the nutrition and health, and I will do my very best to give you the best information that I know how to give. Now, health disclaimer, I'm not a doctor. I can't give you medical advice. I suggest that you listen to your doctor, but I also suggest that you do your own research and you find out what advice your doctor is giving you and what is medically sound. Is your doctor giving you medically sound advice? And that is something that only you can evaluate. And your doctor is going to give you advice on your journey. And a lot of it is going to really conflict with stuff that you may find is present in your convictions. And you always need to be thinking critically and question your own convictions and whether your convictions are medically sound or scientifically sound. I hear a lot of people talk a lot of unscientific nonsense, and it really has more to do with their, we'll call it religious belief of their nutrition. And so without getting too much into that, don't want to start too much debate. That's not what this is about. But it is about you thinking critically and learning what the truth is about medical science and how we've kind of gone off the deep end with medical science. So that being said, again, I welcome you to go ahead and use that chat box over there. I'm going to learn how to do this correctly. Use that chat box over there to talk and ask questions and check in. Let's hear about your weight loss. Where are you at? Are you just starting out? That is what this whole Saturday keto chat environment is all about. And later on in the hour, I will be doing a book giveaway. So I have 4 books stacked up here, and you can take your pick. The winner will be able to choose from any one of those books, and that'll be happening later on in this hour. In the meantime, my main talk today is going to be about macros, and there is a lot of talk about whether or not you should even use macros. Should you or should you not track your calories or your macros? And what are macros? When I first got into keto, suddenly everybody was like talking about macros. Do you need help with macros? And I was, what is macros? I was like, carbs. I knew what carbs were. What's a macro? So macros are macronutrients. There's micronutrients, there's macronutrients. And on the larger scale, the larger, grander scheme of things, there are 3 main macronutrients that you're going to be concerned about when attempting to endeavor in a ketogenic nutritional approach, or in fact, even like a paleo approach or a low-fat diet even. God forbid, low-fat. Anyway, so if you're going to endeavor on a dietetic correction, of course, you're going to do some calculations of macros probably, just to try to figure out if you're getting enough nutrition for what you need. So the 3 macros that you need, 3 macronutrients, or we call them macros, are fat. Fat is going to be your primary source of calories on a ketogenic approach. And the definition of healthy fats is has been wildly skewed over the course of the last 50 years. So we're just going to leave it at that for now, for the moment. Fat. And we're hoping for healthy fats. We would like them to be natural fats. We would not like them to be refined fats. We would not like them to be processed fats. We would like them to be natural fats. Let's just start with that. We do avoid refined vegetable oils like canola oil, corn oil, safflower oil. We avoid those. We do go for saturated animal fat. That's fine. Wherever it's available, meaning skin on the chicken, meaning pork rinds, meaning that kind of thing. We also have another macronutrient that's very important, protein. So you have fat, you have protein. Protein is like, muscle building blocks. That's what supports building organ tissue, that kind of thing. You need protein, and you need a certain amount of protein. Now, the general consensus is that if you're exercising heavily, you need to have somewhere between 0.8 and 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body mass. So it's not that difficult to get your lean body mass. You can visually guesstimate it, and it's actually not that hard to do. I can provide a link down below for visually estimating your body fat. your protein needs to be somewhere in the realm of 0.69 to 1 gram of protein per lean body mass. Now, if you're exercising heavily, meaning lifting, and I'm not talking about cardio, because cardio is cardio. There's question as to whether cardio is actually all that beneficial. But there are a lot of runners. Timothy Noakes is a famous ultra marathoner and a very famous South African doctor advising people to use the low carb, high fat approach. Very enthusiastic about endorsing anything with Timothy Noakes in it. So I wouldn't say that running is bad for you, but what I do want to say is that if you're trying to lose weight, cardio's maybe not going to be that helpful for it. So, but protein, let's get back to the macros here before I lose my train of thought completely. Protein is a macro that is, in many cases, underestimated. The need for it is really, really strong. If you are trying to lift heavy things and you find that your muscles just aren't answering the call, that may be a sign that you need more protein in your diet. That's not to say that you need to go bonkers with protein, because going overboard on your protein is not necessarily beneficial, and it could have some problems. It could be problematic for you. But you want to kind of nail your protein. Figure out what you need and go with that. And then your carbohydrate. Carbohydrate is just not an essential nutrient. It is not something that you need. There are many people that do a ketogenic approach, and I'm not going to get into the credibility of all of these different approaches, and I'm not going to even question the credibility of all these different approaches, because it seems like all of them have some benefit to a certain group of people or to a certain stage in your journey. And I'm not clear for myself quite where that is yet. For the last 30 days, I have had 0 carbohydrate, basically eating pork every day, only pork. So if you're just eating pork, you're not eating carbohydrate. And I've been fine. So carbohydrate is anything that turns to sugar in your blood. So you think about this, I'll use Cheerios. It's a popular cereal. It is endorsed by the Celiac Disease Foundation at this point. I'm not sure if they have an American Heart Association endorsement on their box anymore, but I do know that they're considered a healthy cereal. And there's Honey Nut Cheerios and there's regular Cheerios. There's all kinds of different cereals. But we'll just use regular old-fashioned Cheerios. Now, Cheerios has, I think it's 27 grams of carbohydrate in it. So it's 27 grams of what will turn into pure sugar in your blood. So all of that carbohydrate turns to glucose in your blood. Now, at any given time, your blood, if you have normal blood sugar, will have 4 grams approximately of glucose in it. That's approximately equivalent to 2 teaspoons or so of table sugar. So 2 teaspoons of table sugar is all you'll have in your blood, 4 grams. So the recommended serving of Cheerios is 27 grams of carbohydrate. So, and that says on the label that that's 7% of the amount that you're recommended to have of carbohydrate. So 7%. If that's true, then even that one serving of Cheerios is 27 grams. At no point in the day is your blood sugar really, really normal. Now, if you're very insulin sensitive, you eat those 27 grams and you dump that 27 grams of carbohydrate into your cells. But given enough carbohydrate and enough time, just about anybody can become insulin resistant. From being insulin sensitive to being insulin resistant, because their body is constantly flooded with insulin, because they're eating their recommended daily allowance of carbohydrate. The recommended daily allowance. Those guidelines, by the way, were originated by the U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA. Department of Agriculture is farmers, not nutritionists, not necessarily scientists in the nutritional field. These are farmers. The Department of Agriculture is in charge of farming, not in charge of nutrition. So they're picked up by the American Diabetic Association. They're picked up by the Food and Drug Administration, who forces everybody to make these labels that say the recommended daily allowance and show the content that's in something. So carbohydrate is overstated on these labels. And really and truly, if you know your science, then you know that carbohydrate is not actually an essential nutrient, because there's a little process called gluconeogenesis that is a needs-based process. A needs-based process. Now, some people have said, and it's not really scientifically founded, recent studies have shown that protein, when it's over consumed, does not actually cause gluconeogenesis. People have tried to say if you eat too much glucose, or if you eat too much protein, then it will cause gluconeogenesis. It will spike your insulin, and so on and so forth. And that's not necessarily entirely true. Protein can spike your insulin a little bit, but nothing like glucose, and it doesn't cause gluconeogenesis. And gluconeogenesis happens if you're healthy. It happens all the time, and you want that to happen because your brain needs a certain amount of glucose to function. If you're a carb burner, if you're just eating carbs for your main portion of your calories during the day, then your brain burns 100% glucose. But as soon as you become ketone or keto adapted, then your body is adapted to burning ketones for fuel, and your brain can burn somewhere between 50 and 75% of its calories from ketones. And the rest of it still needs from glucose. But your body can produce enough glucose on its own. So the clinical definition of an essential nutrient is a nutrient that your body can't create for itself. Your body can create glucose for itself, and thus carbohydrate is not an essential nutrient. I say if you want to start getting keto adapted, then you probably need to get somewhere below 50, ideally below 20 grams of carbohydrate for the whole day. So let's take a banana, that's something like 25 grams of carbohydrate, and that is your whole day's allowance. And that doesn't mean that you should take that banana and spread it out over the course of a day. That means the banana gets its carbohydrate all from sugar. Sugar should not be part of your menu if you're trying to get keto adapted, because even a small amount of sugar, just sugar, is going to spike your insulin. Try not to do that. So carbohydrate being very low gets insulin out of the bloodstream, allows your body to burn fat on a natural basis. I'll talk more about that at some other time, what keto adaptation actually is. But we'll talk about that at some other point, and what role insulin plays in fat burning or fat loss or lack of fat loss. Let's talk about that at another time. But right now, my fat ratio, my fat calories, I lowered them down a little bit toward the end of the bacon experiment, just because I found myself lacking in protein. That protein macro really proved to be important. See, I'll talk about bacon itself, and this is as far as I'll go with talking about the bacon experiment on this particular hour. Bacon, 2 pounds of bacon on the bacon experiment is about 75 grams of protein and 75 grams of fat. So let's do the math on that. Fat on a calculator, let's bring up the calculator. Fat on a calculator is 9 times 75. So a gram of fat has 9 calories. So there we have 675 calories with 75 grams of fat times 9. That's 675 calories. That's just the fat. Okay, and protein and carbohydrate each have 4. So 4 calories per gram times 75, that is 300. So 675 calories from fat, 300 calories from protein. That's 975 calories. That's like, and according to the math, with the level of exercise that I'm doing, I'm burning somewhere between 2,200 and 2,400 calories. Now, mind you, if I'm burning that and I'm only bringing in 975, I got to get those calories from somewhere. And I've been fine, okay? The last month, I've been fine, but I've been burning body fat like a beast. I went from 24% body fat down to 18% body fat inside of a month. So pretty stellar. And so that's 975 calories. Some people would call that a starvation diet, except that it's not, because when you become keto adapted, like I have been for years, your body doesn't care where it gets the fat from. If you have fat stores, which I have a few, if you have fat stores on your body, it will just as easily burn those fat stores as it will burn fat that you eat with your mouth. So I lowered the fat grams out of my diet, and I went from pork belly and bacon down to pork loin, which still has a lot of fat. It's a pretty fatty meat, but it's considerably lower, and it's higher nutrient density with protein. So I'm looking for more protein. So the problem with this was that what I really needed was about somewhere between 112 and 143 grams of protein, because if I have 0.8, then it's somewhere close to then it's somewhere close to 112 grams. If I have 0.8 grams of protein times my lean body fat, that would be, or my lean body mass, that would be somewhere around 112 grams of protein. So 112 times 4, that'd be 448 calories. That'd be just my protein. Okay, so 112 times 9, that'd be 1,008. So then I would be looking at something close to 1,400 calories. And then if I went with 143, so let's say 143 times 9, that would be 1,287 calories just from fat. And then if I add my protein calories, that'd be 1,572. Then I would be like 2,000 calories. I wouldn't even be in a caloric deficit, not a measurable caloric deficit. And I probably would not burn that much body fat. So I went with upping my protein a little bit and allowing my body to just burn body fat. That's called protein sparing. So it's to me, I find that I run sharper mentally when I have higher fat, but I also find that I'm physically drained if I don't have enough protein. So that could be a clue, like on days when you know you're not going to exercise that much, maybe drop your protein down. It might not be that necessary, and your body will go into a mode where it preserves existing tissue. But if you're lifting a lot and not getting enough protein, your body's going to use muscle mass from somewhere and move it to where it needs it, and you're going to feel your body, you're going to feel your muscles starving. It's going to not be pleasant. So those are your 3 macros, and a lot of people don't have to calculate macros, and a lot of people, especially if you lead a sedentary lifestyle, you don't have any like major physical demands, and that's modern life for most people. You know, today we've got smartphones to do all our shopping for us, and there's no hunter-gatherer, you know, kind of thing that's absolutely necessary for most people. But there are guys like me who work in a warehouse store, and you're like throwing freight and stuff. You need something to get you going. And if you're a person who's really into going to the gym, you're going to find that when you go to lift those weights, you're going to need more protein to fuel those muscles. If you're not that active, you may not need that, and it may not be that helpful for your journey. So for a lot of people who are just looking for weight loss, scaling back on the protein is probably not going to hurt you that much. Scaling back a little bit on the fat to lose more body mass, but, you know, upping your fat, eating more fat to feel satisfied feels great, and it's mentally just amazing. Like on Sunday mornings, I make myself a bulletproof coffee, and it's not any brand bulletproof coffee, whatever. I take some bacon grease cubes that I freeze from cooking bacon. I put it in my coffee. I take a cube of that, 1 tablespoon of bacon grease, 1 tablespoon of coconut oil, 2 tablespoons of heavy whipping cream, and that's a lot of calories in there. But you know what? Like in the morning, on Sunday morning, I am like razor sharp, and I'm mellow. My mood is straight and narrow. It's great, and I love it. And as well, it seems to smooth out my singing voice for church on Sunday morning. So, hey, can't lose. And I feel satisfied all day. And I don't eat anything really until the end of the day, or until midday. And then I usually eat 1 big meal, and I'm satisfied. And been eating bacon for a month, and that's it. So go figure. I have been really happy doing this approach, and I probably will do modified versions of it off and on here and there. But my macros are, I have to be more protein aware. I have to make sure I get enough protein. If I look at what I've eaten and I know that just doesn't have enough protein to fuel me for tomorrow's work day, for instance, I need to be ready for that. Days on end of tapering off that protein macro, it's not going to cut it for me. And I felt at one point, like this week, you know, normally I wait till after work to eat, and I've been doing really well with that. Like just work, keep myself busy, and then come home, cook. And I'm really hungry when I get home because I know that's time to eat. But the other day, I was at work, and I felt like my muscles were starving. I felt like weird, and I knew I needed to eat. So I went ahead and I bought, right out of the cooler case at work, I bought some pre-cooked bacon, and it's equivalent. It's already cooked for you, and it's just regular smoked bacon, and it's equivalent to 4 pounds. So I know that on the bacon experiment, I'm good to eat 2 pounds of bacon. I ate half that package in one sitting, and I felt great. The rest of the day felt great. Today, I made sure that I packed 1.5 pounds or so of pork loin that had been air fried, and I cooked that up, and I bagged it up, and I stuck it in my lunch, and that's what I took to work with me. And guess what? I ate the whole thing. And I felt great. I felt great all day. And I came home and I felt great. So I still feel great. And 2 pounds, a pound and a half pork loin. Who sits there and eats? What would that be? That's 22 ounces of 22 ounces or 24 ounces of pork loin. Who sits there and eats that? Me, happily. So that's getting your protein macro up there a little bit. That's getting your fat. It's still up there pretty good. It's not bad. And, you know, still eating a sizable caloric deficit, considering that my work usually has me burning anywhere from 22 to 2,400 calories a day. I am eating somewhere between 1,200 and 1,400 calories or so in a day. And I don't feel like I'm starving myself. I feel like I'm losing body fat for sure. I went from a 36 waist size last year in pants. I now fit easily into 32-inch waist pants. So that's pretty cool. My check-in for today is I have my weigh-in for today. I'm going to do my measurements tomorrow on my final thoughts video. But my weight today is 176 pounds. And so I have lost 13 pounds. I started this out at 189 pounds. So I've lost 13 pounds so far on the bacon experiment. As of tomorrow, I don't know what it will be. I will take my measurements. I'll weigh myself tomorrow morning, and I will take my measurements, and we will talk about this on the video that I post tomorrow. And tomorrow I will post my thoughts on the bacon experiment, what the journey's been like, and maybe some ideas. I want to talk about some of the things I talked about this with Dan Quibel of the bacon experiment, and the links are in the description down below if you want to talk to Dan. Dan is amazing. He's super approachable. He's a really cool guy. And Dan, I want you to know that I got my bacon suit, so I'm all set. So right now we are going to do a book giveaway. So this book giveaway is going to happen in the next 15 minutes, and all you have to do is in the next 15 minutes make sure you say in the chat window you are interested in the book. Okay, if it doesn't happen in the next 15 minutes, you have 24 hours from the time this video posts to say that you're interested in the book. And if you say you're interested in the book, then I will contact you, and you can get one of these 4 books. Now, 2 of these books are the same book, but they're different editions. Okay. All of these are thrift store finds. You will probably find that there may be some markings of some kind in them. There may be some slight wear, but I tried to screen these books as well as I can. So for the first option, you have Why We Get Fat and What to Do About It by Gary Taubes. He is an amazing science writer. And Gary Taubes has been criticized by mainstream nutritionists because he actually knows his stuff, and most nutritionists honestly don't. But this is a great book about it's about the science about how we actually become obese. So if you're looking to increase your awareness about how weight loss works, get one of these. So you have the little pocket version here, and then you have the larger paperback. So these are the same book, but they are different editions. So you have your choice of those 2. And then the other 2 books are The New Atkins for a New You. This is by Eric Westman, MD, I am a staunch follower of Eric Westman. It has Stephen Finney, MD, and Jeff Volek, PhD. All 3 of these guys are doctors that can tell you how nutritional science works. Now, one caveat that I would say about the Atkins book. Atkins, as a corporation, tends to promote Atkins products. I do not. I do not endorse Atkins products, and I would advise you. I can't give medical advice, but I would just say I steer clear of Atkins products. But I like the approach that they have here, and it does tell you a lot about what it does. There's one thing in here, and they talk about reintroducing things like grain and some amounts of fruit, and I don't really endorse that so much. I do think that some select berries can be introduced into your diet, but I don't recommend you do that in the first few weeks. And I don't ever recommend people reintroduce grain into their diet. But if you can get past that, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. This is still a solid book for learning about how stuff works. And this book by William Davis, a wildly popular book called Wheat Belly, also the author of Undoctored, and he teaches you stuff about how to lower your dependence on medical doctors in your life. But Wheat Belly is all about getting rid of wheat, getting rid of grain out of your life, and what grain does to your metabolism. So get it if you want it. Just say that you're interested in the book in the next 15 minutes, or if it hasn't happened in the next 15 minutes, you have 24 hours, and the first person to respond is going to get it if you're in the U.S. So this is all for U.S. residents only. I'm not going to ship it internationally, and I don't know what the customs have to do with that, but I'm only doing book rate in the United States. I do all of this stuff for free, so anywhere that I can make this more affordable to be able to continue to do this stuff for free, that's how I'm going to do it. I want you guys to know about the BroBryceHealth Facebook group, which is right here, brobrycehealth.info, and the BroBryceHealth blog site. That's where I'm going to be posting articles that I write, and these videos will be appearing there as well. And I also post stuff on my Twitter, which is BroBryce. I post all different kinds of content on the BroBryce Twitter account, @BroBryce on Twitter. Follow me. Eventually, I might put together a BroBryceHealth Twitter feed, but BroBryceHealth is less about social media, and it's more about clinical type of thing. BroBryce Cooks is my cooking channel, and that's more about fun and crazy stuff, and that's probably going to be on Twitter more. And it's also on Pinterest and Instagram, those kind of things. So you'll find BroBryce Cooks. That's where I do all my recipes and stuff. I am getting regular subscribers on the BroBryce Cooks channel. Anyway, we are coming up on 7 minutes to the end of the hour, and I want to thank all the trolls for leaving us alone for now. There's still time. I also want to invite you guys to join the BroBryceHealth Facebook group. It's an open group. It's public, and there are 231 members in there. And there's people at all stages of their journeys. You know, we have people that were diagnosed diabetic and reversed it. We have people with PCOS who are battling that in their journey with diet, mainly with diet. And medication doesn't have a lot to offer people with autoimmune disorders and with insulin resistance. So you know what? Nutrition does. We have a lot to offer people with food, with real food, just eating real food. And I advise you to go with a real food approach. I also want to bring attention to an article that Lynn Borzillo posted to Facebook, and it's called How to Win an Argument About Nutrition. And it's on healthline.com. I'll post a link to it in the description. But the fabulous thing about it is, like, I'm not a doctor. I can't give you medical advice. But what I've done with my life is I read studies. I spend a lot of time reading studies, listening to medical lectures from actual doctors, learning about how science actually works, right? I like to say, we're just sciencing here. You know, I'm not trying to offend you. We're just sciencing over here. And hopefully you're not offended by me over here sciencing. But if you guys are looking for studies to back up these crazy claims that I make and that Lynn makes and that other people make, I'll post a link to it in the description of this video, and you guys can check it out because it's amazing. And it gives you like all the ammunition that you need. How to win an argument about nutrition. And there's the link. So that'll be showing up in the stream. There we go. All right. And for those of you that are interested in what I do after I leave the stream here, I have a good friend who has yet to join us here in the chat. His name is Tony. He's like my best friend in the whole world. He's like my brother from another mother, and he is up in Vancouver, Washington. And he does a channel called Old Nerd Reviews. And he's an old nerd, and so am I. So we are definitely brothers, and he definitely does his share to help out. And I actually won the XSplit Broadcaster subscription from his channel. So you guys just give him a shout out. Go over to Old Nerd Reviews, and I'll post a link to Old Nerd Reviews right here in the description of this video as well. Visit Old Nerd Reviews. There we go. I'll post that link right there. There it is. So you guys can join that stream, which happens right after this one at 5 o'clock. He opens up his stream, and that's going to be about 3 minutes from now. He's probably already playing his opening bumper music because he's like a responsible streamer. And I look forward to seeing you guys next week. We're going to wrap this up, and I will indulge you guys in a little bit of Glenn Case music for the end of this broadcast. I want to thank you again for joining us, and have a really wonderful weekend.